Some stories just get under your skin and they stay there. The case of Elisa Lam and the Cecil Hotel, it's definitely one of those. It's this incredible, tangled web of a haunted hotel, a video that went absolutely viral, and a whole bunch of questions that honestly, we still don't have clear answers for. So let's get right into it. So picture this. It's February 2013. We're in downtown Los Angeles, and our story takes place at the Cecil Hotel, a place that, believe me, already had a reputation for its dark history. But a brand new chapter was about to be written, and it would turn out to be the most disturbing one yet. It all started with something pretty simple, really. Something unsettling. Guests had a complaint. For days, they'd noticed something was just off with the hotel's water. And that one simple problem would lead to a truly horrifying discovery. And this is where it gets really creepy. The complaints weren't just, hey, the water pressure's a little low. No, guests were saying the water was dark, kind of blackish, and it tasted awful. They knew something was really, really wrong. But I guarantee you, what they were about to find out was beyond their worst nightmares. So because of all these complaints, the hotel sends a maintenance worker up to the roof. His job? To check out these huge water tanks that supply the whole building. So he climbs the ladder, he opens the heavy lid on the main tank, and he looks inside. And there she was. Inside the tank was the body of Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student who was staying at the hotel. She'd been reported missing 3 weeks before. In that moment, the source of the water problem was solved, and a missing persons case exploded into a global mystery. To even begin to understand what happened, police had to look at her very last known moments. And what they found was a piece of security footage that would go viral and become the absolute centerpiece of this whole mystery, the elevator video. So the video starts, and we see Elisa get into the hotel elevator, all by herself. First thing she does is hit a bunch of floor buttons. Then she immediately scurries into the corner like she's hiding from someone just out of frame. But the elevator doors don't close, and her behavior just gets more and more erratic. She steps out, looks both ways down the hall, then steps back in and starts mashing all the buttons again, almost frantically. But nothing. The doors just stay open. You see her do this several times. She cautiously peeks out into the hallway, which looks totally empty, by the way. Her head is darting back and forth. It is impossible to watch this and not get the feeling she's hiding from someone or something that we just can't see. And then there's this. She's standing just outside the elevator, and she starts moving her hands in these really strange, unnatural ways. It's almost like a ritual. Her fingers are twisting, her arms are gesturing like she's having a conversation with someone or something that just isn't there. And this right here, this is the heart of the mystery. For the entire 2.5 minutes that Elisa is there, those elevator doors stay wide open. They only close, and the elevator only starts moving after she walks away and disappears down the hall. It's like they were being held open by some unseen force. Now, where this all happened is just as important as what happened. You have to understand, the Cecil wasn't just some random hotel. It has a reputation, and it is a very, very dark one. I mean, since it opened way back in the 1920s, the Cecil has been the backdrop for some of LA's most grim moments. It was a temporary home for not one, but 2 serial killers, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, in the 80s, and then later, Jack Unterweger. And on top of that, it's been the site of so many suicides, murders, and just plain unexplained deaths for decades. This history has led a lot of people to believe the building itself is just cursed, that it's a place that attracts and maybe even amplifies tragedy. And that idea became a huge part of why the public was so obsessed with Elisa's case. Was she just the latest victim of the Cecil's dark energy? But okay, let's set aside the whole haunted hotel thing for a minute. Even if you do that, you're still left with these baffling real-world questions. Like, how on earth did a young woman all by herself end up inside a sealed water tank on the roof? First, just think about the tanks. These things stood 8 feet tall. 8 feet. And there was no permanent ladder attached to them. To get to the top, Elisa would have had to figure out some way to scale the smooth, sheer side of this massive cylinder. Just try to walk through this sequence of events in your head. First, you have to get onto a roof that's locked and alarmed, a place only staff can get to. Second, you have to climb an 8-foot tank with no ladder. Third, you've got to lift an incredibly heavy lid. And finally, and this is the part that just breaks your brain, that same heavy lid was found closed on top of the tank after she was already inside. How? How is that even possible? So, you've got this bizarre video and this impossible crime scene. It's no wonder that theories just started to swirl, and they ranged from the pretty logical to the completely supernatural. Everybody wanted an answer for what happened to Elisa Lam. All right, so let's break down the main theories. First, you've got the paranormal one. People point to the hotel's cursed history, her weird behavior in the elevator, but there's just no physical proof. Then there's a really wild conspiracy theory. People found out a tuberculosis test called Lam Elisa was being used nearby at the time. I mean, what are the odds? For some, that was just too strange to be a coincidence. But the official ruling was accidental drowning. They said it was a tragic consequence of her diagnosed bipolar disorder. And look, a severe manic episode can include hallucinations and intense paranoia, which might explain her actions in the elevator. Maybe in that state, she thought she was in danger and climbed into the tank to hide. But that still doesn't answer the biggest questions. How did she get onto a locked roof and inside a sealed water tank all by herself? It just doesn't quite add up. And that's why this case, while officially closed, is still intellectually wide open. The official explanation, it just leaves too many critical questions unanswered. And that's what cemented its place as a true modern mystery that continues to fascinate and, let's be honest, horrify people all over the world. Which really just leaves us with this one final haunting question. Do you think this was all a tragic medical episode that somehow defied logic and physics? Was there someone else involved? Someone who was never caught? Or is it possible that all those stories are true and the Cecil Hotel is a place where the shadows are real and every now and then the darkness wins?